Simple matter is there will be no charges filed in this incident. Pretty simple. There was a fight, and I have no questions that these two girls were injured in that fight, but the simple matter is it was a fight. So I'm not going to provide any sort of detailed description. A lot of you have been here before, and I've done legal analysis and a rendition of the facts, but this case is simple enough that that's what this boils down to. A fight occurred, two people were injured, but there's just not a basis to show that Mr. Zambrana committed an aggravated assault causing those injuries. And by no means am I condoning his behavior. He could have been avoided if he would have simply just driven away after not getting the service that he wanted at this Burger King. But he didn't do so, and we have to deal with the facts as they are. And there's just not a basis to file charges for this incident. And we'll go through and kind of explain a little bit more in detail, as I sometimes do, on why that is. So if you want to start the video, you'll have a copy of this exact same thing in the flash drives we just gave you, but we blocked out pretty much. I'm not mentioning the names of the juveniles here. We blocked out all the faces because some have been on TV, some have not, but this is what occurred. This is, as you can see, it's back Sunday at about 12:21 p.m. We have Mr. Zambrana pulling up to the drive-thru at the Burger King. Essentially what this amounts to is, at that point in time, he got a Coke, a Pepsi, some sort of drink, and there was stuff on the side of it, whether it be it overfilled or whatever. It went down the side of his drink, and he was not happy about that, so he sent it back. You will see that there is apparently some sort of dispute, and some of the workers in the police report kind of backed it up. You can see that he was somewhat aggressive at that point in time in terms of kind of shoving it back, not exactly happy with what occurred. But he wanted a new cup or wanted something else done, and so you'll see here is the manager. She gets some napkins, she wipes it down, and we'll let that play out a little bit before I get too far ahead. It takes a little bit, but that's what occurs. She takes the drink and then pushes it back out to him.
Is there audio?
There is no audio. There is one part, there's a cell phone video that was taken, that's towards the end. You'll see there is audio there, but we've never seen, this is all just security cam. And here's the point, you can see her, she wipes it down, takes a bunch of napkins, hands it back out. For whatever reason, he is not satisfied with that. He kind of swats it down, knocks down the cup. The next video here, you will see that from the external view. Not a great view, but you can actually see the cup kind of falling, knocking it down, and the cup being left behind. It's kind of pixelated, but then you can see the cup there. So what he does is he, instead of driving away, decides to go back into the Burger King and confront the ladies for the lack of service because he didn't get the drink. You can see him here. Fortunately, there was nobody else in the Burger King at this point in time, and there is quite clearly a dispute and argument. Once again, there is no audio, so we don't know exactly what it says, but he wants his drink. They don't want to serve him because of his boorish behavior, and so that's what it entails at this point in time. You will see he does come over the counter. He will come over the counter to grab a cup. What he does, and this is off camera, is now he's off camera and he goes to the fill-up machines, and the fill-up machines are there, and he's, instead of getting a drink, he's getting the drinks and then proceeds to dump it on the floor as he's at the drink. The witnesses say that. You can kind of see their reaction to him doing this, and there's quite clearly an argument. They're going back and forth, and you will see him come. Oh, there goes my, there it is. He'll come, and he'll come walking this way. You can quite clearly see him dumping the drink on the floor. It appears to be water. We didn't really go and try and analyze this, but you'll also notice that the manager's not gotten her own cup. You got to stop it right here. Now, you got to stop it. There we go. So right now, what we have here is, okay, we could probably, if this just stopped right now before anything else, we could probably charge him with creating a disturbance. He's creating a disturbance in the business. There's no, like I said, I'm not condoning, and I can just see the questions. Well, are you saying people can hop over the counter and grab cups and we're not going to do anything? No, that's not the case. We always take things in the totality of the circumstances that they are, and if we would have just stopped now, we probably would have charged him with creating a disturbance in a business. That's all we have. Now, we just had this, if you just saw it, she threw iced coffee at him. She's committed an assault now. Okay, assault is simply an offensive touching. That's all an assault and battery is. It's an offensive touching, whether it be, very often we see something like spitting on somebody. That doesn't cause any injury. It doesn't have to cause potential injury. She's throwing an iced coffee at him. So now we have an assault by the manager, and we've got a creating a disturbance, which creates all kinds of problems for us as well, because now we have a victim who is conceivably a defendant, and a defendant who's conceivably a victim, which causes all kinds of problems on our ability to put people on the stand and get to the bottom of this. All right, if you want to continue on now. Once again, there's perhaps another assault, throwing the cup at him. He walks out here. We're football season. We got offsetting penalties. We play the down. But that's not what happens, unfortunately. He decides to come back. From the video you'll see a little bit later, he's apparently aware that he's gotten coffee on him. There's coffee on his shirt, and he's not happy about that. You can tell, and one of the things here, this young lady right here, this is, they're getting ready for something here. All right? You'll see this video come up. He's confronting them about getting the coffee thrown on him. You'll hear from the video, she admits, yes, I did throw that on you, but you did this because you dumped all the water and stuff over there. So he throws water, so now we have more assaults, if you want to stop it right there. So we have another assault, him throwing the thing on her. We have another throwing of coffee on him. I mean, this is, you can kind of see, this is just, raveling out of control. And what do we have? We now have them pursuing them. If you want to rewind it a little bit. We now have her coming around the corner going after him. And we've heard, there's different versions that she's trying to lock the door. You'll see that that's not exactly what occurs here. She goes out after him, aggressively pursues him out the door. If you can run it there so you can get the full version of what happens here. And then the fight is on, and you can see here that there's at least, I counted 6, 7 individuals in that small vestibule. The police find his shirt and his shoes there, so and he says he tries to get out of it. He's got to get out of his shirt, and we'll zoom in here a little bit more because you'll be able to see up here as he goes out. He tries to shut the door, and she goes flying through, and it almost looks like a UFC flying jump kick. At that point in time, the fight's on. When you talk about mutual combatants, this is what's going on here, and you have a number of individuals, and nobody has a good version of what exactly occurred in there, but it's a fight. It's not like somebody went at, if anything, he'd be a quote-unquote victim here because they were coming after him, but after his behavior, it's hard for us to put him as a victim. Yeah, 2 individuals she clearly, you can see, she got slammed to the ground, so she did get slammed to the ground, but that was after her aggressive behavior. So I have no doubt that they were injured and there was a broken jaw and there were stitches, but when people engage in a fight like this, that's not an assault. That's not something we can charge. Here's the one with the audio.
And did you just pour that all over there and all over there?
And once again, going to just, the whole context is that they're somehow in fear, they're somehow scared for their lives or whatever happened here. Quite frankly, from just listening to that small portion of audio, this was not something they were necessarily in fear of. They chase him out. He's heading out the door. They're heading, they go out the door, they can lock the door after he's out. It's not like anything's going to happen. This was an aggressive pursuit. They go in there. They get injured during this fight, but there's nothing that I would charge an aggravated assault. We just can't prove that on a sufficient basis. We could charge a bunch of other misdemeanors as I've gone through, but you have the whole issue of defendants and victims across the aisle. This is a wash, and that's why we're not filing charges. I feel bad for the family that the 2 girls were seriously injured. They incurred serious medical bills, but this is not a criminal matter. They can seek civil damages if they want, and there's a whole different standard there, but this is not something we would do criminally. So that's kind of my summation. Obviously, I'll take any questions.
One of the employees told us that first door to the vestibule didn't lock, and so she was trying to get him out that second door so that she could get him out of the restaurant and lock the door. Do you guys know if that's the case, that first door?
I think that is the case. I mean, it doesn't lock, but to say that she's trying to get him out there, I mean, that's I guess that's open for interpretation. When you got 3 other people, you open stuff like opened that up for, it didn't look like she was trying to get him out. Like I said, it looked like a flying jump kick. And from his perspective, they're just trying to simply push him out. Once again, she doesn't necessarily have a right to just go shove him out like that. The video seems to indicate otherwise. If anybody was the aggressor, it was that initial, female going through the vestibule doors.
Did you make any considerations to the fact that this individual was Mr. Zambrana is a grown man, far larger, and presumably far stronger than his these are teenagers, right? Did you make any considerations?
Sure, and if it's a one-on-one, you can conceivably exceed the force, all right? Where if it's a one-on-one, but all of a sudden, when you get, like I said, I think I counted 6 people in that thing where it's a melee, that negates any size differential. Even the biggest person can be overwhelmed by a number of smaller individuals. So, once again, depending on the facts and circumstances, this is just a one-on-one thing, and he picked her up and slammed her, and maybe we have a different situation, but all of a sudden there's a bunch of people filing through that door going after him at the same time, and as I said, his shirt was off, his shoes were off, he left them at the scene, and he says, geez, I had to, they ripped it off me, I'm trying to get out of there. That's where you get into, can we prove it? And so nobody has a real good version, which is not surprising given the melee that occurs inside that vestibule, to be able to prove exactly what happened if somebody went too far or did too much. One-on-one's a whole different story, but that's not the case here.
The police did initially say that it seemed the customer was the aggressor, so that was just not something that you agreed with.
Well, like I said, going back to avoiding the incident in terms of doing all this, in terms of going in there and egging things on, maybe if you characterize that as the aggressor, I don't know when the police put that out. I think it was fairly early in the incident, so they're getting a version of what occurred from the witnesses. Obviously, taking what the witnesses, everybody's got different perspectives of what happened, and when you have an emotional thing, and at least 2 of them are seriously injured. So I think that may be the initial take, but once you get the video, there is video here, and it's tremendously beneficial, that video. You get a clear picture.
And when did you get this video? Like, when did you begin reviewing it?
What was it? Wednesday, Thursday? I just went, what's today, Friday, so it would have been Wednesday afternoon. I think I got the reports and everything from Wyoming, so I took, part of the afternoon and yesterday.
Did Mr. Zambrana sustain any injuries?
Not to my knowledge.
And what is his first name?
I don't recall. I want to say David, but I don't know off the top of my head. I wasn't paying it, I know it was Zambrana, so.
The injuries, the girl had a broken jaw, and the other one had
Broken jaw, and then she had a pretty good laceration over her eye on her forehead that required 10 stitches, I believe.
Was that a consideration too, the fact that essentially Mr. Zambrana walked away with no scratches, despite the fact that there were 5 or 6 people in there, yet we had 2 of those 5 or 6 people admitted to the hospital?
Sure.
That doesn't seem like...
Doesn't seem fair. No, to some extent, yeah, it did. Does it seem fair to have him walk away with nothing? But, I have to be able to show assault charges, and to say that, he assaulted them when they're coming out at him, busting through the door like they were, that the law, what's fair and what the law is, doesn't always jive. I think sometimes we want to think that it always does, but in this case, yeah, I feel badly for the girls and the serious injuries, and like I said, it could have been avoided if he would have just left. But it's not my, like, okay, I'm going to charge because I think it's fair. We have to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and with that video, there's no way we can prove this beyond a reasonable doubt to sustain criminal charges. Civilly, that's a whole different story. He could be liable civilly because that's a different standard of proof and different, a whole different proceeding. But for criminal, it's just not there.
And so, I think you said that another charge was considered possibly, or like a lesser?
There's a lot. We looked, like I said, going through it. There's a creating a disturbance, which if it ended there with hopping over the counter and going dumping the water, you can creating a disturbance. But there's various assault and batteries for throwing coffee and throwing other objects. Those were all considered. But given when you take this as a whole to try and pin these out and pull these out and file criminal charges, it's not there.
When we spoke with Juan Davidson, Brown, and the employees. They both agreed, you know, the incident should have just ended after the drink. They should have driven away. You said so yourself.
Sure.
I mean, you agree this could have just been avoided.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I guess, kind of a bigger picture of some of the other cases you guys, call me on in terms of, the road rage incidents. I mean, it just seems like right now, it just seems like there's all of these kind of stupid things that are happening out in the world right now that just walk away, don't do anything, and we don't have, A, the potential for criminal charges, B, we have 2 girls that are seriously injured now, and, it just, people need to take a step back, and I don't know if they're still dealing with COVID or just society. I mean, that's probably bigger questions for somebody else. But I just seem to see that we're dealing with stuff like this that just should be avoided. And it's coming on my desk and desks of prosecutors across the state.
But, yeah, and again, I know, I understand where this is all coming from, but, when we say walk away and don't do it, he didn't do that, but he's still out there free today.
Yep. Hey, yeah, I mean, that's out there free, but that's, once again, it's not I can't just do things because, the crusader, because what's right and we're going to do this. I'm bound by the law, and what the law says is, he's got to be somewhat the aggressor. He's the one committing an assault, and based on that, pouring pop down and creating a mess on the floor isn't an aggravated assault, and that's, the facts just do not support charging him with an aggravated assault. Anything else? Okay, thank you.